Welcome back. So we've got seller property disclosure statement. So we just got done with doing all the other stuff within the Iowa listing package, and we'll talk just for a minute about the seller property disclosure. So with this one, really the only thing that you can fill out as an agent is just really the top. Other than that, everything else has to be filled out by the owner or the owner's representative. So if it's a um, you know, if it's not an estate because they're going to be exempt. But anyway, so go through each one of these and fill out. You can certainly, talk to them as they're doing it. And and the only thing I would ever do is just over disclose. Always over disclose. If they've had water in the basement, if they did have it, when was it? How much did they have? What did they do to fix it? And have they had any problems since? That's usually the biggest one. Insurance claims, that's a huge deal. Make sure that insurance claims are disclosed because that can be found out at the last minute when the new buyer goes to get their new homeowner's insurance. And that can be a deal breaker, so make sure they've done that. Any well issues, septic tanks, that we'll talk about those in a minute. And then, any problems with the sewer. So, do they have to have the sewer roto-rooted every 6 months or something? That's going to be an issue. Have they had any trouble with the furnace or air conditioning? If they have, what have they had done? So, pest infestation, and that includes, for the longest time, it really included, we're like termites. Well, it was termites. Well, no, now it's bats. There's tons of bats. Within the last 5 years, bats have gotten crazy in attics. So, and then asbestos, that's usually not a big deal. Radon is a disclosable item. If they have had it tested, what was the test? Have they done anything to mitigate it? That kind of stuff. So, and then here where it says additional or non-mandatory requested items, those, they can choose not to do that. However, I like to do them. I just think they need to do them because, again, the more information you can provide, the better off they're going to be. And if there's an issue, it doesn't look like they were trying to hide something. So, then it goes down and it talks about structural damages, physical problem. Is it located in a floodplain? All of that. So they just changed the property disclosure this year. So, and then here it says appliances, system services. And it says Section 2 is for the convenience of the buyer and seller, and is not mandatory. They need to fill it out, just because if they're ever gonna have get sued or something like that, in my opinion, they need to provide as much information as they can. Now remember, so if it shows that it's included in working on here, that does not matter. Remember, and we'll talk about this in the purchase agreement section, that if it's included on the deal, if it's included on here and it's not on the purchase agreement, it does not stay. So just remember that can burn you at some point in time. And I've had agents get burned on that. So be really careful of that. So fill out everything that's either working or not working, included or not included. And then again, any repairs. So if they've, let's say if they had a fire, and repairs were made and all that stuff, feel free to attach additional sheets if you want to, but always over disclose and always say what was done to fix it if anything was done. So, and again, I've got it highlighted on here. And again, you as an agent are not a party to this in any way. So I put where they need to sign. So that's the whole thing. Now, if on this top part, if it's considered exempt, and what does that look like? So bare ground in Iowa does not need to have a seller property disclosure statement. Anything 5 or more dwellings, so you need to have a property disclosure up to 4 units, or if there's 5 or more units, you don't need it. Court-ordered transfers, so that would be if somebody was, maybe somebody passed away without a will and the court is ordering it sold, then that has to happen. Transfers by a power of attorney, so let's say if you have somebody that's in the nursing home and a power of attorney is taking care of that for them, whether it's a daughter or a lawyer or whomever. Just remember, if it's a power of attorney, they've never lived in the home and they can't answer this properly, so you just sign here and sign and date and you're done. You don't have to initial or anything else past this. Again, so foreclosures don't need to have property disclosure statement. Lenders selling foreclosed properties, fiduciaries in the course of an administration of a decedent's estate, guardianship or conservatorship, or a trust. And remember, that's only, so even if the deal is in a trust, let's say if you have a couple that has a house in a trust, and they're still alive and doing everything, and they're just they're selling it out of that trust, they have to fill it out. However, if there's a fiduciary that's in the administration of that estate or trust, then that is exempt. Between joint spouses, so in other words, or joint tenants, or a spouse, let's say if it's a divorce, they don't have to do a property disclosure statement. Let's see, any governmental division, any quitclaim deeds, intra-family transfers between divorcing spouses, commercial ag properties which has no dwelling. So just kind of memorize that list, and I've done a lot of bare ground, a lot of estates, a lot of foreclosures. So just remember, if you don't have to fill it out, don't fill it out. So and again, just sign and date that if it's exempt and move on. You don't need to do the rest of it. However, if you're going to fill out the rest of it, just remember this is where all the initials need to go on each one of these. Page 2 does not have any initials on it in the new property disclosure statement. So anyway, so that one's pretty easy. Again, you can sure talk to them about it, but do not fill it out. Do not tell them how to fill it out, but if they ask you, go ahead and help them out. So any other questions, call me anytime.